Let's proceed to step number 11. Basically, this step covers more on the variable rules and what should be considered while you are naming your variables. And this applies to the different programming languages. So some of the most common rules we have, some words are reserved keywords. So basically, you should not use a reserved keyword to name your variables. Number two, variable names cannot start with a number and they can only contain alphanumeric characters or underscores. Another naming convention rule is that variable names are case sensitive, such that all of these examples that have been listed here, all of them will represent different variables. And finally, it is common convention to write variable names using snake case, where each space is replaced by an underscore character and the words are written in lowercase letters. So, and in this particular step, we are required to remove both calls for print and declare another variable called alphabet, assign the string this to this variable. So we need to get rid of this print statement and declare another variable name known as alphabet, and we are going to give it a string of these characters here. And remember, a string is represented either in double quotes or single quotes, so always take note of that. Let's check our code, and everything passed correctly. Let's submit it and proceed to the next challenge. On to the next challenge, that is step number 12. The first kind of cipher you are going to build is called a Cipher cipher. Specifically, you will take each letter in your message, find its position in the alphabet, take the letter located after 3 positions, and replace the original letter with the new letter. So start by finding the position of the first letter in the string. One way is to use the built-in find function. So, and this is the syntax of how the find function works. So, and for this we are required to, above the character, the char is the character you want to locate, and a underscore string is a string you want to pass. So, at the end of your code, call the find function on your alphabet string and pass 0 to the function. So, we are going to add here another function where we'll have the variable name, which is alphabet, and we are going to pass in the find method, and inside here we are going to pass in the text and the bracket notation with 0 as the value. And let's check our code. That seems to be correct. Let's proceed to the next challenge. And that's challenge number 13. Now assign the value returned by alphabet.findText to a variable named index, then print its value. So we are supposed to assign this value to a variable named index. So for this, all you need to do is come to the beginning of this letter variable name here, and let's add index and use the equal sign to assign it. And let's print it using the print function, and inside the brackets we're going to pass in our name, which is index, and let's replace this, and that should be index. And let's check our code to make sure everything works correctly. And yeah, that's correct. And from the left side you can see we are getting different results depending on what we have been able to do. So let's proceed to the next step or the next challenge, and that will be step number 14. So in step number 14 they elaborate more about the find function, where they say find returns the index of the matching character inside the string. If the character is not found, it returns -1, and that's what we have here, because the character requested for does not exist. As you can see, the first character in text is uppercase H. This is what we have here. Is not found since alphabet contains only lowercase characters. And yeah, so you can transform a string into lowercase equivalent with lower function. Add another print call to print text.lower and see the output. So these steps introduces the lower function, which is used to convert variables or strings that are in uppercase into lowercase. And in this particular step, we are supposed to convert the text, the hello world string, into a lowercase and add a print function to print it into lowercase. So let's proceed to doing that. So for this, we need to add another print function. So we need to add another print function here. And we need to pass in the text.lower. So this should be text.lower, and I get rid of these. So it should be like this: print text.lower. As you can see, it converts the hello world from uppercase H and W to both of them being lowercase, hence converting the entire string. So let's check our code to make sure everything is correct. And it is. Let's proceed to the next challenge. Now in the next challenge, we are required to remove the last print call. We need to remove the last print call. Then instead of text 0, pass text this to find and see the output. So we need to get rid of these, and instead of having it alphabet.find text 0, we need to have it alphabet, and we need to add here the lower function, and it should be able to print the 7th index of our alphabet, and that's correct. So let's see if that passes, and it does. Let's proceed to step number 16. Moving on to step number 16, as you can see from the output, letter H, character H is at index 7 in the alphabet string. Now you need to find the letter at index 7 plus the value of shift. For that, you can use the addition operator plus in the same way you will use it in a mathematical addition. So in this step, what we are needed to do is declare a variable named shifted. So shifted, and assign it the alphabet letter at index plus shift. So assign it the alphabet. So we need the alphabet, and these, and here we can have index plus shift, and let's check to see if that's correct, and indeed it is. So let's proceed to the next challenge. So print your new variable. So our new variable is shifted, so we are going to use the print function, and inside here we are going to pass in the shifted variable name. So this, and we need to replace this. Let's check that, and that gives us k. So basically what has happened is we took the value that we got earlier, which was 7, which was the index of H, and we added that 7 to integer 3, and we got 10, and so for that it printed for us the value which is at index 10 of the alphabet string. So let's proceed to the next challenge having done that. So step number 18, repeating this process for each character in text can be tedious. Thankfully, you can simplify it using a loop. So in this step, we do an introduction of the loop, the for loop statements. A loop allows you to systematically go through a sequence of elements and execute actions one on each one. In this case, you will employ a for loop. Here is how you can iterate over the text. This is a simple syntax of the for loop. And for is the keyword denoting the loop type. And I is a variable that sequentially takes the value of the elements in text. The statement ends with a colon. Remove everything after alphabet line, then write a for loop to iterate over the text. So anything that comes after the alphabet line should be deleted, and then write a for loop to iterate over the text. So for that, a for loop will be for I in text, and remember to end it with a colon. Let's check our code, and that seems to be correct, and let's proceed to the next step. So for step number 19, the code to execute at each iteration placed after the colon constitutes the body of the loop. This code must be indented. In Python, it is recommended to use 4 spaces per indentation level. This indented level is a code block. So these are a good example of how indentation works in Python. And remember, Python is very sensitive when it comes to indentation, such that when you miss a single space, your code won't execute correctly. So in this step, we are required to give your for loop a body by adding a call to print I. Remember to indent the loop body. So for this, we need to add a print statement that's going to print letter I. So for that, let's add the print function, and inside here, we're going to pass I. And as you can see, we get an output that prints hello world. So let's check our code and proceed to the next step. So step number 20. Now remove the indentation and see what happens to the output. So the indentation has been omitted. Let's try to run the code and see what will happen. Exactly, nothing is being printed because we don't have an indentation, and the print statement isn't able to get what is required. So for that makes us to pass this particular step, and let's proceed to the next one.